Good morning, third graders. Welcome to lesson number 9 in our math program, where we're continuing our work with multiplication, with division, and in some cases addition and subtraction. Here we're using all 4 operations. That's a great word to know when you hear the word operation. And in the context of math, as we think of math, the operations, right? The ones that you worked with early on were addition and subtraction, and now we've expanded it, and now we're including multiplication and division, and those are the operations, the basic operations of math. Anyway, yesterday we were introduced to this word called parentheses, and you probably remember when you see parentheses in a math equation, in a math sentence, it has a very important meaning. And the meaning of parentheses is do this part first, right? If they could talk, they might say, do me first, right? Do what's inside the parentheses first. And yesterday when I modeled it with you, I was always showing the calculation, the result of the parentheses part, just because it makes life easier for us as we solve problems. Well, today we're going to continue our work with this, and we're going to first off make an observation about the meaning of the parentheses and how they change the value, or not. Here we go. In the parentheses we have 6 plus 4. We know that's 10. 7 and 10, 17. In the parentheses we have 7 plus 6. We know that's 13. 13 and 4, 17. Hey, well that's interesting. The answer is the same. It turns out this instruction, besides saying solve the following pairs of problems, it says circle the pairs where both answers, both problems, have the same answer. And in this case, do we have the same answer? We sure do. Next one. 3 times 2 times 4. The 3 times 2 is in parentheses. 3 groups of 2 is 6. Then we have 6 times 4. 6 groups of 4, right? 6 groups of 4. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, right? Now, you don't have to count with the fingers each time, but if you need to count on, that's one way to do it. In the parentheses, 2 times 4, 2 groups of 4, and that is 8. 3 times 8, or 3 groups of 8. Let's count by 8. 8, 16, and 24. Wow, this is interesting. 24 and 24. We circle. Well, let's continue. We're going to move to the side here. 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. 5 times 5 is equal to 25. Okay. In the parentheses, 2 times 5, 2 5s is 10. 3 plus 10 is 13. Whoa, wait, are they the same here? Absolutely not. Well, why are some the same and some different? This is interesting here. 8 divided by 2 times 2. 8 divided by 2 is how many 2's in 8? And that's 4. And then 4 times the 2 is equal to 8. Alright, well let's do this other one. Same numbers, parentheses moved. 2 times 2, that part's 4. 8 divided by 4, which is the same as how many 4's are there in 8? 4, 8, 2. Now, here we go again. We have different answers, and in all of these, we have the same numbers. For both sets, both pairs are the same numbers, but the parentheses are moved. So the big math question here is why, in some cases like these two, are both answers the same, but in some cases like these two, are both answers different? We pause pause for a moment and just look and see if you can figure that out, right? Well, welcome back, if indeed you paused. If you are paying attention to the operation here, what are the operations in this set? All addition. And the answer's the same. What are the operations here? Multiplication, 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 multiplication. All multiplication, and the answers are the same. Okay, so when the operations are the same, the answer is the same. Well, let's check the operations here. Addition, multiplication. Addition, multiplication. We have different operations here. In the same number sentence, we have different operations and we have a different answer. Right? Let's check this one. Division, multiplication. Different operations, a different answer. So this is a very big observation. It's a very big discovery, if you will, because it will affect the way that we use parentheses. That means we can move parentheses around if we'd like to, as long as the operations are the same. It won't change the answer if the operation's the same. And we just discovered that with our little exercise. Now, how can that be useful to us? Well, in today's lesson, it could be useful to us when we look at some bigger problems like this one, and we think, gosh, we're not used to working with groups of 12. What can we do? Well, the thing that we can do is break apart this larger multiplication problem into smaller and easier problems. And this was done for us here in this array. So we got this big array that's 3 groups of 12. 3 rows of 12. And we can see them. Row, row, row. But here, the people who put this book together actually broke apart the same number of triangles into smaller groups. Let's see what those groups are. 1, 2, 3 rows. 3 rows of 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's a 3 times 3. What's this? A 3 times 3. What's this? A 3 times 3. What's this? A 3 times 3. Hey, look, how many 3 times 3s do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 3 times 3s. And look at the number sentence that matches that. In the parentheses, 3 times 3, and then times 4. Now, the interesting thing is, these two sentences relate. These two. How do they relate? Well, if we took this 12, the 12 in each row, and broke it apart, we could break it apart like this. 3 times 4. Because that's the same answer, the same product as 12. What we move the parentheses around, and we get a slightly different look. The 3 times 3 part is equal to what? Each one of these is equal to, and I think you're saying 9, right? And now we have a different number sentence. Now we have a number sentence we're more familiar with, that we've done, and that might even be memorized. 9 times 4, giving us the same answer as 3 times 12. And how do we get that same answer? We know that we can break apart one of those factors. In this case, it was the 12. Break it apart into a smaller part, and then we have permission to move the parentheses to make an easier number sentence. What is the easier number sentence? 9 times 4. That's easier for us. All right? We have another example of that here. And then we're going to work with a slightly different look. So let's take a look at the slightly different look. A lot of times our program puts things in ways that are unfamiliar to us. And we've spent a little time struggle a little bit to try to make sense of it. And that's all right. Hey, that's what life is. Meet new challenges, right? Place parentheses in the equations to simplify. And this is such an important word in math and in life. We have problems, and one approach to the problems is to look at it and think, can I make it any simpler for me? Right? What can I do to simplify my life, to simplify the problems that I'm challenged with? And so we're going to try to do that as we look at a problem that might not look too simple. Hey, 3 times 16, wait a second, we haven't done problems like that. What could we do? And what we see in this first one is that instead of using 16, we could simplify and look at 16 instead of 16 as 2 times 8. Because we know that 2 times 8 is 16. So the sentence 3 times 2 times 8 will be the same as 3 times 16. Now, that discovery we made about moving the parentheses is what we're going to do now. Do you see how we're taking these parentheses from the 2 times 8 and moving them to the 3 times 2? That's the simplifying part. Because you and I know that 3 times 2 is 6. And then our new sentence is 6 times 8. This new sentence of 6 times 8 is the same, gives us the same answer as the 3 times 16. Well, what we did is broke apart the 16 and moved the parentheses to make a simpler sentence. You may have this memorized, but if you don't, you can certainly do the count-on strategy. Count 8 sixes or 6 eights, and you get the answer of 48, which means 3 times 16 is 48. This is the kind of thing we're doing, and this is a challenging lesson, right? But it all starts with this idea. How can we simplify a more challenging problem? Here's the next one. 2 times 14. We're not used to working with 14, multiplying times 14. That's an unusually large number. Let's break it apart. We know that 14 is the same as 2 sevens. So let's rewrite the sentence. 2 times 7. And now we'll move the parentheses to make a simpler sentence. We moved it around the 2 times 2. What is 2 times 2? 4. And now our new sentence is 4 times 7. We're used to that. We've done this before. We can either count 4 sevens or 7 fours. And in either case, we will get the answer of 28. Which shows us that 2 times 14 is 28. So the key to today's lesson is the movement of parentheses, right? Moving the parentheses to simplify. And that's really what you're going to do here, okay? And this is the page that I'd love for you to take a picture of and share with me when you're finished with it. Right? If you need to re-watch the video, go ahead and do so. I think that through our examples we covered the main ideas and how we can move parentheses to simplify, to make a new sentence that's a little easier for us to work with. Okay? Best wishes to you. So long.